One of the most common myths about healing is that it's basically the same for everyone, that it should happen in a neat order, on a neat schedule, and in a way that looks acceptable from the outside. Like if two people went through something painful, they should be able to process it, get past it, and move on at roughly the same pace. But trauma doesn't work like that. Healing doesn't work like that. And when we pretend it does, we end up judging people for having real human responses to what they survived. Because healing isn't only about what happened. It's also about how it happened, how long it lasted, who caused it, who witnessed it, who helped and who didn't, what happened afterward, and whether there was ever a moment where your body and mind felt safe enough to even begin dealing with it. Think about the difference between a single traumatic event and trauma that was ongoing. A one-time experience can be devastating, and it can absolutely leave deep scars. But when trauma is repeated over and over, especially in relationships or environments that you can't escape, it doesn't just create a painful memory. It can reshape a person's entire internal world. Ongoing abuse or neglect can change how you see yourself, how you see other people, and what you believe the world is going to do to you next. It can affect trust. It can impact identity and self-worth. It can make emotions feel either overwhelming or completely unreachable. It can change the way your body reacts to stress, like you're always bracing for impact even when nothing is happening. And when the nervous system has been trained to survive, it doesn't simply snap back into calm because the calendar moved forward. And then there's the age factor. Trauma in childhood hits differently. When you're a kid, you don't have the tools to properly understand what's happening or the power to change your environment. You figure out how to survive. That's it. Survival becomes the lesson. So you adapt. You might learn to stay quiet. You might become the kid who never needs anything. You might become hyper-aware of everyone's mood. You might people-please to stay safe. Or you might shut down because feeling too much isn't an option when there's no one there to hold it with you. And those survival strategies don't just disappear when you grow up. They follow you into adulthood. They show up in relationships, in work, in the way you handle conflict, in the way you talk to yourself, in the way your body responds when something feels even slightly unsafe. So when someone says, "That was years ago, why aren't you over it?" they're missing something huge. For a lot of people, healing didn't even start back then. They were too busy getting through the day. They were too busy coping, enduring, staying functional, staying alive. And sometimes the processing only begins years later, when life finally slows down enough for the truth to surface. Your environment matters too. Did anybody believe you? Did anyone protect you? Did someone show up with support and consistency? Or were you dismissed, blamed, ignored, or forced to keep living in the same harmful situation with a smile on your face? Healing can look completely different depending on that. It's one experience to go through something painful and have steady support around you. It's another to go through it alone, while also being taught, directly or indirectly, that your pain is inconvenient or somehow your fault. Safety plays a role in a way people don't talk about enough. A lot of trauma doesn't truly start processing until you're finally out of it, until your body stops scanning for the next threat, until you're not living in constant survival mode. And sometimes, when that safety finally arrives, it can look from the outside like you're getting worse. You may feel more emotional, more reactive, more tired, more anxious. But what's sometimes happening is that you're finally safe enough to feel what you had to shut off to survive. That isn't failure. That's your system trying to release what it couldn't carry openly before. Mental health matters here as well. Anxiety, depression, PTSD, these aren't just labels. They shape the entire healing process. Two people can live through something that looks similar on paper and still have completely different internal experiences afterward. Different triggers, different coping patterns, different levels of overwhelm, different capacity to function day to day. Of course, their timelines won't match. And then there's access, something we can't ignore. Access to therapy, access to supportive relationships, access to time, stability, and resources. Not everyone can pause life and focus on recovery. Some people are healing while also working multiple jobs, raising kids, managing chronic stress, or just trying to keep the lights on. Sometimes people are still in survival mode, even after the trauma itself has ended, because life doesn't automatically become safe or stable. So no, healing isn't going to look the same for everyone. And it isn't going to happen on the same timeline either. Some people do move forward quickly, at least in the ways others can see. Some people take years just to feel safe inside their own body. Some people experience progress, and then a setback, and then progress again. And from the outside it might look like going backward, but that's often part of doing real layered work. Because healing isn't a straight line. It's messy. It's layered. It's learning what happened, and then learning what it did to you. It's noticing the patterns you built to survive, and then slowly deciding which ones you still need, and which ones are keeping you stuck. Healing can mean unlearning the habit of minimizing yourself. It can mean rebuilding self-worth from the ground up. It can mean facing memories and feelings you once had to bury just to make it through the week. And different people need different amounts of time for that. That is normal. If you've been feeling like you're taking too long, I want you to hear this clearly. There is no deadline on your healing. There's no expiration date on your pain. You are not required to be over it just because time passed on the outside. What happened to you mattered. The impact it had on you is real, and you're allowed to take the time you need. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not too much because you're still working through something that hurt you deeply. If someone makes you feel guilty for still carrying it, that tells you more about their understanding than it does about your progress. They don't see what it took for you to survive in the first place. So take your time. Take time to process what happened. Take time to feel what you had to stuff down. Take time to unlearn the survival patterns that once protected you, but may not serve you anymore. Because rushing healing doesn't solve it. It often just hides it. And pain that gets buried has a way of resurfacing. Sometimes in anxiety, sometimes in relationships, sometimes in the body, sometimes in the quiet moments when you thought you were finally fine. There's nothing wrong with you for needing longer. Some wounds cut deeper. Some experiences shift your life in ways that take a long time to rebuild from. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're doing real work. And if all you did today was make it through the day, that counts. That matters. Survival is not nothing. It's the foundation that healing can eventually stand on. Healing was never meant to be rushed, compared, or judged. It was meant to be lived through honestly, fully, and at your pace. We live in a world that celebrates quick recoveries and quiet pain, but that version of getting better often ignores what's actually happening underneath. Real healing can be uncomfortable. It can be slow. It can bring up truths you avoided because you had to. And it can ask you to learn how to live without the weight of what once had control over you. So give yourself permission to heal the right way, not the fast way. And here's the part one hope you hold on to. One day you may realize you're not just surviving what happened anymore. You've been rebuilding. Quietly. In ways most people never saw. It might show up in small things first. The way you respond differently. The way you set boundaries without apologizing for existing. The way you stop blaming yourself for things that were never your fault. The way you notice your own needs and actually take them seriously. You'll find strength in places that used to be nothing but pain. And that's what people don't say enough. Healing doesn't only restore you. It transforms you. It turns survival into understanding, pain into awareness, and brokenness into something rebuilt piece by piece, more intentional, more grounded, more yours than ever. That kind of healing, the kind that's deep and lasting, is always worth the time it takes. Thank you for listening. Until next time.